So in the last episode, we managed to assemble the engine and gearbox to the frame. And in this episode, the main mission is to put it back where it belongs and hear the engine running again. To install the engine back, I asked a couple of my buddies to help. It is a big and heavy engine, especially with the gearbox also on it, and the engine bay is narrow, so not to break anything, you need help. I found a couple of suspects who can help me with it. Thank you, Tannel and Kaido. First step is to put the engine back with its subframe to its place. You don't need 3 guys to do it, but it's quicker and more effective that way. 1 operates the engine hoist, 2 other are on each side of the car, aligning subframe holes and steering column through firewall. Also that on each side all of the piping and wiring will survive. There is like about 4 to 5 centimeters between the rails of the car and engine dollars gearbox. So let's begin to put these 8 mad samurais back to the Swedish dojo. So like you see here, it is not ideal to do this job on a 4-post lift. You cannot lift the lift high enough to stand under the car because the engine hoist has its limits, so the skinniest of the gang had to climb under. This Volvo has a stupid alignment on the subframe. For example, the older models had like one hole in the subframe with a guide pin to align the subframe exactly, but the Ford era had its downs. This car does not have guide pins to align the subframe, only two holes in the back on the body and on the subframe, and they need to align to have the subrame installed correctly. So we sent the youngest, tallest and skinniest underneath the car to see if they align so we can tighten the subframe bolts. was like a regular Volvo gathering to install the V8 back to its place. This black S60 with white interior is probably the most clean car I have ever seen, with almost 300k kilometers on the clock. From inside and outside, it looks like brand new. And of course the V70R. Probably the best color combination Volvo ever made on any car. Flash green metallic exterior with Atacama interior.
Nitsei!
So at this point, it's exact reverse order of the dismantling stage. Connect every hose, plug, wire. Put back the front screen, or glasses as we say in Estonia, so we can install the radiators, back, lights, and front bumper. It took from the installing to engine bay to finish about 8 to 10 HRs altogether. I will not go into details and just present the sped-up version. After the nose assembly, we need to put everything back underneath also. This means connecting back the fuel lines, installing heat shields, propeller shaft, and the mufflers. Also did some rust prevention things and added some protection underneath so the car would not rust. To me, this car was the peak engineering of Volvo after the wonderful P2 S60R and V70R. That's what they should have done already in the late 90s, to put a V8 engine in their car. After the death of the V8 Volvos, in my opinion, it has been a downfall for Volvo. There was a slight ray of sunshine with the P3 Polestar S60 with their 508 horsepower concept car. Sadly, this stayed as a concept, and from this point on from selling the brand to PRC, and now to concentrate only electric cars. This once nice brand has no soul or character whatsoever. That's why after the V8 S80, I turned my sight to the Germans, especially Mercedes and BMW. At least they have some cars still left, which give you the and emotion of driving the peak engineering of humankind. I have test driven with the modern electric cars also, but they are soulless refrigerators on wheels. Thanks but no thanks. Good part is that the more dinosaur juice left for me. Someone has to keep the V8, V10, and V12 alive. I'm on a mission, haha. After everything is done underneath, it's time to pour in all the juices and start this marvel of engineering. For the coolant, I used a vacuum filler, which is pretty neat in sense that you can beforehand test the cooling system with vacuum for leaks. And you don't have to hassle with the refilling. Correct amount in first pour and all done. Off camera, I already installed engine oil and power steering oil. Also replaced the power steering reservoir because it has a stupid non-serviceable filter inside. At least it was not very expensive. Now it's time to put the Mad Samurais to work, aka start the engine. First, I cranked it without fuel like 3 to 4 times to build up the oil pressure. Just pulled the fuses for fuel pump and let it rip without a fuel. At this point, I also killed my battery, which was old anyways. So off camera, I installed a new one.
Yes.
After the rebuild, I took the car to yearly inspection. It passed with flying colors and is fun to drive, but as it is already 18 years old, it has developed some issues in the past 9 months of the rebuild which I have not addressed yet, like losing the keyless entry and start completely. I have a hint of the problem, but this in some other videos maybe. Also, there are some random issues with the car also which I have not had time to diagnose. At this point, it's more of a Sunday fun day or to church car, and dailies are currently German brands. Anyways, thank you for watching and stay tuned. My channel has more to come.